That's the one and only David Bowie. It's the Bennington Show. Ron Bennington, Gail Bennington.
Hey.
Stanley Bennington.
Hi.
And Joey Jojo Bennington.
Hello.
Wanted to start off with that song because if you've ever listened to this show, I think RBI, Unmasked, GPS, anything that we ever do, I think it's about finding beauty in the world. And we're going to play some today. How you doing, Jay?
I'm so in shock and so sad, but so also very grateful.
Yeah.
To have got to spend my life loving David Bowie's music.
Sure.
As early as I can remember. That music was on in my home.
Sorry about that.
So much of, times that I spent with my family, but times that I spent alone and figuring yourself out.
Sure.
If you've ever felt a little bit like a weirdo or a little off, you could always go to his music and draw strength and beauty from it. And I'm very grateful.
And me too. You know, that's a really good point, is I think Bowie was the original, hey, if you feel like an outsider, it's cool.
Yeah.
Literally the first guy that ever did the thing with, I'm so far on the outside that it's extra, extra cool to be that way. And that's why, again, I go back to that thing of wanting to start the show with that today. That when you're a kid and you can fall in love with music like it was a girl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's basically what that song is about, is that he's so in love with this rock star. And he's singing about it to us who are in love with a rock star. I was watching the Golden Globes last night, and we play the Stardom thing down so far now to where it's all like a joke and, hey, there's nothing, precious. We're just regular people. This happens to be our job. But, we find out Bowie passes away and you're like, no, there's still rock stars.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that hit, I made sure I was up at 7 this morning to hit all the different news things, and to see, at age 69, that his death knocked the world out. You know what I mean? Like, you could easily make the case that he was years and years after when it would matter, but it certainly hit people in the gut this morning. All right, we're going to open up the phone lines today. 844 Rock God, 844 Rock God, and also to give away another kind of hidden thing to the reasons why we do the things that we do. There was a Ricky Gervais story when Ricky wrote to him, and later we'll play that funny Ricky Gervais song that was so great with Bowie. But I think it was like Bowie's 58th birthday, is that Ricky wrote to him and said, it's time for you to get a real occupation, signed Ricky Gervais, comedian. And Bowie writes back to him, I have a real occupation, and signed it David Bowie, rock god. And he was, in fact, at least from my point of view, everything I wanted a rock god to be. You know, constantly changing. Even up to the last album, I'm at least an album behind where I can get comfortable with his music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Every single time he would put out a new album, I'm like, I don't get this. We were better what we were doing before, dude.
And that's so brilliant, and what a life to live, that you continue to evolve creatively at his age, but throughout his entire life he kept changing. And I think that to me, one of the most remarkable things is when I got the news, I was so stunned, and it was still so early on at that point that I was I was a little bit in denial that I thought this has to be a mistake. And one of the first things I did when I was trying to find out if it was true is that this article from the Times popped up from 2 hours before, and the opening line is, it's a great time to be David Bowie.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, this can't be true. And how incredible to have somebody say that 2 hours before they announce your death, to say that it's a great time to be him, because he has so much going on with him, with his play and his new album, and he's so full of life and creativity that anyone would envy having his life at 69 years old.
And it was always that way. And now last week or about a week ago, so Chris says to me, he hears from Leeds, would we like Tony Visconti and Mick Woody Woodmansey, who was the drummer for the Spiders from Mars. Yeah. I'm like, fuck yeah, of course. Yes, of course. And then we hear back, oh, they're not going to be able to do it. They're going to be rehearsing something. And now, of course, you find out, I'm sure that this had... that they knew that the end was, clear. At least Tony Visconti would have been up to date, because he's the guy who produced the last couple albums and albums all throughout David's career. But, just to have that friend that they would put out an album and nobody even knew that they were recording one, or he puts one out on his 69th birthday. And this is the interesting thing to me about it. There, you listen to that music, and like I say, it always takes me time to fucking catch up. A guy who's listened to him for over 40 years. But, at a time where, Star Wars is out and all this shit with their fans, there is zero nostalgia in the new fucking record. It's dark, it's weird, it's like, oh boy, I dig this, but, let me try to listen to it a little bit. I mean, it's always very, very challenging to have been a fan of his. Really, really brilliant stuff. And what you said about they had just put out that saying what a cool time to be him. It was always this weird thing in New York, because, like John Lennon before him, Bowie moved here, Bowie lived down in Nolita. People would see Bowie quietly walking around town. And about now, it's got to go back. And I've told this on the air many times. I'm going to tell it again. We were at this party, and I don't know how we were invited to this. I can't remember who invited us, but it was for Lou Reed's photography, which would be cool enough, right? And we're at this Hermes place up on Madison Avenue, and Lou Reed is there, and Laurie Anderson is there, and Julian Schnabel is there, and the photographer Peter Beard is there, and we're all just trying to not get thrown out of a place that we didn't expect. And so we're just checking out the room as people are drinking champagne, and everybody's wearing some version of black and white. It's a very New York night. I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life. And you could hear the silence, the stunned silence coming up the steps. And it was people in this room who were mulling around, just stopping cold as David Bowie came into the room and basically sucked out sound and oxygen as he walked through. I can't imagine, and you know why he tried to always play it, down after that in his life, because it's got to be a tremendous thing to, that the party wasn't fucking totally silent before you got there. And it is, and it turned into total silence. And as he walked by us, Black Girl, my good friend Earl Douglas, just goes, the thin white Duke. And it was the funniest, weirdest thing. And he just came in, took pictures in front of the things that he was supposed to do with Lou Reed, kissed him. And, like here, I'm going to give you some publicity. You know what I mean? You asked me to show up. This will make all the papers tomorrow. And it did. All the places, all the pictures. And when he left, normal life resumed. You know what I mean? And we went back to, that was pretty fucking that was, and I kind of thought he might show up, but you don't know. And that was a rock god. That was a true rock god moment. It's very, very funny the amount of people, and I must have talked about my love for Bowie a little bit too much over the years, because the amount of people who wrote to me today to say, hey dude, I'm sorry, tremendous.
Well, I feel like it's such a personal connection, because for me, I feel like it was almost inherited, because your love for him was given to me, and it does feel so very personal. It really does. And I love that story so much, and I love that you got to set eyes on him that way.
It was very, very very tremendous. It's I can't think of, he was my first that you said yours inherited. He was my first rock star that wasn't inherited from either my big sister or my big brother.
Yeah.
He was one that I actually remember the actual times that, I heard both, some of the early hits for the first time going, what the fuck is that, man? But also there is, and it's odd and weird to say, but it's cool to say it with you, when your mom was pregnant with you, it was a very, very weird thing for a young guy to go, oh, okay. But I took all my parenting ideas from a David Bowie song. And I remember when my friend Eastside Dave found out that he was going to be a father, this was the advice that I gave him. So this is one of the early ones, and we're going to play some Bowie today. And if you like to give us a call, it's 844-ROCK-GOD, 844-ROCK-GOD. But this was a song about how I was going to handle you before you were even born. It's Kooks. Kooks, Mr. David Bowie. The only song that I ever really heard trying to convince a baby to stay with the family. He's basically selling himself and his wife, saying, listen, if you take a shot, if you take a chance on us here, there's going to be some fun. It's going to be weird, but stay if you will. Do that for us. We did lose David Bowie yesterday. Here's another amazing thing. I had the kid who that song was written for, Duncan Jones on the show before. And before that happened, there was a little showing up at the Lincoln Center. You know how they have those theaters there. And this is part of the whole Lincoln Center jazz, whatever that place is. It's not, there's movie theaters in there that aren't open to the public for a regular thing. You've got to be a part of it. So we're going to watch, I guess it was Moon at the time, or maybe it was the one about the time traveler in Chicago. I can't remember which one that it was. So the lights go down and we're going to watch it. And just as the film comes up, I see this silhouette come in, sit down, watch the movie. Just as it's ending, the silhouette gets up and walks out. I can't I can't say for sure that I watched the movie with David Bowie, but I'm pretty convinced of it. I'm going to go to Joey Jojo, a man who repeated history yesterday with his brother as his team lost in the final seconds of a chip shot.
Yeah, we just, when we lose hard. the Vikings.
Well, you do lose. Every year of your existence ends with a loss.
Shanktown.
What's your big Bowie moment? What's your big Bowie song?
My big Bowie song is Heroes. This is my favorite one.
Surprising!
Wow.
Surprising. We didn't have that one set up for you.
Yeah.
What is it about Heroes?
I really like the way the song escalates and his voice escalates in it.
So he's just losing it.
He's just losing it, just belting it out.
Yeah.
And just wanting to be with this person in it, but it just doesn't seem to work.
Well, if you remember the post 9/11 rock concert that was done for first responders downtown, it started with Bowie doing a Paul Simon song, America. And he's so weird. He's just sitting there playing that odd little instrument that does it. And they're showing old New York, and it's just crushing. Just crushes you up. And then he basically brings up the guys, in his neighborhood, because he was a real New Yorker and he had the local fire department, knew where it was and thought about those guys. And then he went into Heroes, and it was fucking an amazing moment,
Yeah,
it was amazing.
It's so fitting for that moment too. I mean, that song is so powerful and heartbreaking. I couldn't think of a better song to have accompanied that.
Yeah, I mean, to really start that off, it was phenomenal. Here's Jim in Ohio. Jim.
Yeah, Ronnie, I immediately thought of you when my 16-and-a-half-year-old daughter woke me up this morning to tell me that David Bowie had passed. So I was waiting for the show, and I saw him for the first time in New Haven, Connecticut in the early 70s during the Ziggy Stardust days. And at that time, I was a huge Hendrix, Doors guy. I was just getting into the Allman Brothers. I didn't really understand or even really like his music, but I went to see him, and then it became a lifetime of listening to everything he did. He was that music was so far out there on the edge, but just so good. It won me over that day, and I've never looked back. I've seen him a dozen times since.
Well, this is this is the funny thing about it. He did that thing which he could have played that character for the rest of his life, and people would have been happy enough. And he didn't even kill it at the peak. He killed it before the peak, and he did that time and time again. It was so weird and so oddly, at times, frustrating to be a fan of his, because he did not give you what you wanted. You didn't know what exactly the next thing was going to be.
Yeah, he was never leaning on anything that he had accomplished or was known for. He was always evolving, and it's weird. And I think that's probably what makes it difficult for a lot of people to process, because he was so present, so full of life, so creative, but that he stayed in the moment, and always he was always the David Bowie of the present.
Right.
He never had to rely on past albums or looks or anything that he had ever done. I mean, he really wanted to stay a creator, and I think it kept him so youthful in our eyes.
Well, the last thing that he just put out last week is the first video of him that I didn't think, oh, he looks so much younger than I expected him to look. But I will say this, I saw him do the Young Americans tour, and I remember saying to my friends, well, at least we've got to see him before the OD, because he looked fucking awful.
Really?
And he was delivering shit up there, man. He was so weird and skinny, and gacked meets fucking heroin. I mean, it was like looking at this skin, and I'm like, well, look, dudes, there he is, let's remember him. And, man, did he bounce back in a big, big way. And I saw him on the last tour, which was 2006, something like that, where he was incredibly healthy. Came out and did like 30 songs on that tour. Maybe was the healthiest I've ever seen him. And then never toured again, had a heart attack at some point by the end of that tour. And I always thought it was the heart thing that kept him from, going back out or whatever he was doing. But that was funny because I saw him in Fairfax, Virginia, and because I was working down in D.C. at the time, and he basically made fun of us for living there. He was he was saying stuff like, well, you live here, so maybe this is something for you guys. And I'm fucking cracking up. I go, it's rough enough for me, dude, without you bringing it up. John in Georgia. How you doing, John?
Hey guys, I just had to call after what Gail said, after she ripped my heart out. But I inherited Bowie from you too, Ron. But what she really said about being grateful got me. I'm so grateful for all the moments that this rock star gave me. That he'll never know me. He'll never know that I even exist. But I have what he's put out into the world, and I'm grateful that I'm a member of a secret society, an anonymous society, and being grateful is what finally got me over the hill.
Yeah.
And I learned about being grateful from you, Ron. I learned a lot from you about being grateful for music and just creativity, just the love of pure creativity. And so sorry, I'm kind of making it about myself, but I just wanted to say that I'm so grateful for what you've given me too, and part of that is love, is loving music, and Bowie's a big part of that.
Thank you.
I can't tell you how hard hit I was 5 years after 9/11, and you and Fez opened the show with 5 years, and I remember exactly where I was and exactly how I felt and exactly how hard that hit me. And it's just this, in a weird way, it's this wonderful moment that I have where just all of my senses were all in tune with everything, and everybody else was on the same plane. And it revolves around you guys, and it revolves around Bowie, and it's just part of my life, and I'm grateful for it, and I'm grateful for you guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, John. I opened up this show kind of talking about that a little bit, about how all these shows that we do come back based on the one thing, and that's finding those moments, those pieces in life that make life worth living. And anytime that I see a story about a school shooter or some kid, I'm like, what? He didn't have a fucking album that he couldn't wait to go home and listen to? He didn't have a book that connected him with something? He hadn't seen a movie that he couldn't wait for the actor or director to do the next one? And there's very little in a cold universe to take in, but when you find it, you better treat it like it's precious. And it's amazing to me that people that I love end up really loving the work of other people that I love. RBI has proven that. I see Eddie Izzard is tweeting stuff out today that the whole world should be playing this music today, and I get that completely. You know what I mean? I get the fact that Eddie Izzard or Ricky Gervais, being Englishmen, feel like, even though they do a different art form, feel like they're standing up on this guy's shoulders a little bit. He certainly teaches artists how to be brave, but you also can never take away from what the audience brings. That there is no beauty without human beings discovering it and choosing to cherish it. If you had a planet that had no human beings on it, there literally would be no beauty, because no other species has figured out a way to stop and take it in. That's the one thing that we really bring, which is odd. It's our ability to be a loving and grateful audience, because it doesn't exist. If all this stuff was inside of a box, it would have zero value. This is for Joey Jojo. It's his favorite Bowie songs, and we'll play some of yours today if you like, and check with the other guys on the show. This is, do we got it, Chris? Or we don't have it?
Yes, we do.
This is Heroes. David Bowie, Heroes. If he only did that one song, that would he would have ever needed to do. He could go around playing that song for the rest of his life.
Yeah,
every single time somebody wins a Super Bowl, that song comes up.
And you can say that about every time period. There are so many albums, so many incredible songs. It's crazy that he has such a wealth of this.
I love that song, and I don't even know if it's in my top 20. If I really started to sit down and make up my list, I don't know if it would be there. We're talking about the great David Bowie. Angie Bowie, who's, by the way, who has done this show a number of times, and I don't even think he's talked to her for 40 years. She's inside the Big Brother house in London, England right now.
Oh, my God.
No.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Oh, no.
Dennis the Menace in Jersey.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
Just wanted to share my quick memory. First time I saw Bowie during the Ziggy years at the Tower Theater.
Was that the one that they recorded for the live album?
I believe so. Used to go there to see movies as a little boy. That was the first concert of many that I saw at the Tower.
Yeah, the Tower was always a great place to go see shows. And they did record there. And then Bowie came back to Philly because he was in love with Philly soul and did Young Americans. And that was another album when it came out. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? This is shit. And now it's like one of my favorite albums. But when it happened, I was like, what?
God, that's so weird to think, right?
I've done it to him a million times.
I don't trust
station to station, low. What the fuck are you doing? And now I love those albums. But I never, there's so many people are like, well, when I heard it, when I heard the glam stuff, it knocked me out. So I always have been waiting for him to do, another glam album my whole life.
Well, is there, I think it's because it's so unfathomable, like that he was able to be that person during that time. I mean, that's like a boldness that you can't even comprehend. And he had such confidence in doing it and sexiness and style that, I mean, I would
mean the
imagine
glam stuff in the 70s?
I would imagine that anyone who saw him or witnessed him or even was aware of him must have just thought, what is this? We
really did think that he was a spaceman. I'll tell you something else too. Have you ever watched Saturday Night Fever, right? And that movie came out in like 77 or 78. And the girl, she works in Manhattan but lives in Brooklyn. And she said, I saw David Bowie came in. And the guys immediately go, he's a faggot. That happened entirely throughout the 70s. Like people who listened to like Ozzy or Led Zeppelin would be like, that's faggot music. So a lot of people, even that love Bowie, had to keep it somewhat away from their friends, which made it taboo and even better. You know what I mean? Like if anyone's ever been in a relationship that wasn't accepted, those are the sexiest, hottest ones you'll ever have.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you really don't feel alive, start dating someone that you shouldn't, and you have to keep it away from the world because that brings it out. But I admit, I was like, all right, have you guys gotten a good look other than your ugly rhythm section to see the two girls who front Led Zeppelin? I mean, that's basically a girl group that you're acting like are studs. But, you know, coming out and saying that at the time he was bi or pan or whatever the hell, so it was fairly daring shit. Here is Sharon in Philly. Hey, Sharon.
Hey, Ron. I usually don't like to call, but I had to call today because it's like I really need to give you a hug.
Yeah.
I really feel that we shared this love of Bowie. I mean, we're basically the same age. We grew up with him. I'm sure we were in the same building, seeing all those shows together. And, you know, I felt like this was going to happen. I didn't feel that he was going to live a long time because we didn't see him after the heart attack.
Right.
And when I woke up this morning, first thing I do is I check Twitter, and that tweet centered right in the middle of my screen. And I was like, no, come on, it's a publicity stunt for this new album. The whole Lazarus thing, right? He's
right.
going to rise from the dead. And then I had to go to CNN, and I don't even know what to say. It's like, I feel that you and I are part of the same family.
Well, here's the thing, Sharon. I mean, it's a really great point that he wrote this album about death while he was dying. I mean, you want to know the difference between an artist and a celebrity? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was no, you know, People magazine, oh, brave David Bowie dealing with this thing. He, as being one of the most famous people in the world over the last 40 years, is also one of the most private people in the world.
Right, absolutely.
Stunning.
And the funniest thing about it to me, it was like, by the time we got to Let's Dance is when I really realized, wait a minute, the whole world hasn't been loving this guy.
Absolutely.
We've been loving this guy for as long as we had. He was all over our radio.
Yeah.
And he was ours. Like I jotted down literally just my thoughts for the iBang. I think it's posted already about what it was like to grow up as a Bowie fan in Philly and how he constantly came back to us and just showed us his love over and over again.
It's so funny that you said that too, because the last time that I saw him, you know, he's doing Suffragette City and Diamond Dogs and all these songs. But then when he would do something from the 80s, twice the place would pop. There were still people that saw this tour that didn't go back before the Let's Dance stuff. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. And I literally, and I think I mentioned that in my piece, that I would go like, you know, who do you people think you are? You don't deserve to be a fan the way I'm a fan here. And I think I saw him at the Borgata on the reality tour. I don't know if you were at that one. But it was the coolest thing at that tour. The majority of the fans were like in their 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Yeah.
And I've described that show because he really went back into the catalog. Like, he went into stuff from, like, Hunky Dory and even earlier.
Right.
And I said, I watched the audience get younger. Like, we all became 21 years old again, listening to that really old Bowie stuff. And we were all together, and we were all together with him again. And it was just, I was so glad that I got to see that show.
I saw that show down in Fort Lauderdale in a nightclub. He played a nightclub. I thought it was a Chili Pepper, but Flats is telling me he believes it was the Edge. But the fact that we were seeing Bowie in a nightclub was just like crazy to me. Like, it was too much that I could even, you know, take in. All right, Sharon, thank you so much, darling.
Ryan, thank you.
What is your go-to Bowie song out of all of them?
You know what? I thought about that. I said Quicksand in the article.
Yeah.
Or from the new stuff, from the really new stuff, there's a song called Thursday's Child, which has broken my heart. It's the emotion in that song. Like, a lot of people don't know it.
Right.
But it is the most beautiful. And his singing, and let's not forget that he was influenced by Iggy's pop style of singing and incorporated that when he went into the deeper voice. And this Thursday's Child is the most beautiful and heartbreaking. I listened to it this morning and I had to shut it off. I couldn't do it. And of course, you killed me with Lady Stardust too, one of my all-time favorites. So
that one slayed me when I was a kid, because that was the one when you heard that and you're like 13, you had to go, so am I gay? Is that the thing that I'm feeling here? Is it gayness? Because I think if you were going to, and that's why I wanted to talk that when you love some piece of art so much that it almost feels romantic, it's stunning for a young person.
He wrote that about Alice Cooper.
Yeah, sure. That entire
by Alice Cooper in those days, yeah,
that entire era, whether it was T-Rex or Lou Reed, you had to stop yourself and like, I'm into a lot of guys that are pretty androgynous here. I don't know what's happening. Hey, this is Thursday's Child, and this is David Bowie. That's for our friend Sharon, who just put a piece up on the iBank today, My Life as a Bowie Fan in Philly. And she's right, I can really, really identify with her story and some of those same exact shows. But Philly, like I said, had a lot of love affair with Bowie, but so did Bowie with the city of Philadelphia. He loved the Philly International sound, loved Teddy Pendergrass, wanted to come in and make an album like that, which seems insane. You will see, that Bowie influence in Todd Rundgren, who did his own kind of what some people call blue-eyed soul. Daryl Hall has certainly some kind of connection. There was a Hall & Oates album where they basically looked and were all painted up like it was a Bowie album. Did not go over well. Yeah, did not go over well. See if you can find, I think it might be War Child or something, but you will never stop laughing once you look. It almost destroyed them as having an ability to be mainstream. It certainly set them back years. All right, we're talking about losing David Bowie, but it isn't, one of the things that we like to talk about is the fact of just find something for yourself in this world. Find something that you can, find something that you can spread out and be part of it. Let's go to Jay in Boston. How are you, Jay?
Hey, Mr. B, how you doing today?
Yeah.
I just wanted to share my experience about David Bowie. I was a young boy. I was 7 years old, and my parents took me to Foxborough Stadium to see David Bowie on the Glass Spider tour.
Sure.
And I know that tour kind of got banned, but just to be able to experience Mr. Bowie live as a young kid, I didn't really know what was going on, but it was just amazing. I've been a fan ever since.
Yeah, that was really the overindulgence tour. And that's the beauty about him, is like, this is not some, he's a genius, so everything worked out. I mean, there was a lot of shit, Tin Machine, that people are just like, what? What are you talking about? I remember, though, when Laurie Anderson, put Lou Reed in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and she said Bowie called her up and said the album with Metallica was his favorite thing that either band had ever done, Lou or Metallica, and everyone across the world panned that. You have to think sometimes people are in a different, place than mere mortals, Yeah,
that's very true, and that you can have that individual connection, especially because there were so many versions for him.
Sure.
I mean, it's crazy, but I have such a close personal connection to what was it? Earthling? Is that
I love that one.
And it's crazy to think that that's the same Bowie of the early 70s and then 80s. I mean, it's crazy to think that that's all the same person. But that album came out, and I was like, I was in awe that he was doing it then. I was like, how does this guy make the best album of this year?
Right.
At his age, and
Little Wanda.
That song is so
great.
You
man.
little Wanda, you so sexy.
Satellite. And I remember that was just like the beginning where people started talking online and shit, and
Yeah.
you're realizing it's all satellite stuff is going back and forth. He was up in front of it. Hey, Tom in Syracuse.
Hey, Ronnie B. and the rest of the Benningtons.
Hey.
Just how David Bowie influenced me early was as a youth, and you talked earlier about why people do crazy things, why they can't just go and put something on. For me, it was Width of a Circle. I could go in my room and take the album out and put that song on and the rest of the album. And then as time went on, as you said, you had to figure him out and everything because he just kept peeling back more layers. Many people are saying how he changed, but I think he just kept giving us more layers of himself.
I would agree with you, man. I think that you're closer into something because I don't think this whole chameleon thing of turning into someone else. I think everybody is kind of a lot of different people, and he was ready to explore each side of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, is your sexual side different than your work side, different than your family matter side? But imagine if you showed all those things to everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'd probably lock you up. And in his case, he was, considered a genius. Hey, Chris found that Hall & Oates thing where they Bowied it up. How funny is that?
Oh my God.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible. The rouge, the eyeliner, the windblown hair. It's pretty phenomenal.
Hey, Kyle.
Hey, Ron.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, guys. Sorry. Tough day today. I wanted to call. And the reason I love listening to you guys' show is I love listening to the kind of the generation differences between you and Gail.
Yeah.
And David Bowie, for me, and with, growing up, my dad, he was kind of this, hey, kid, check this out. And he was one of those very sensitive threads that runs throughout many generations, because of the way that he evolved as a musician and the way that he changed. He was able to stick around for a long time. I work at a venue out here in L.A., and he's to a bunch of 22-year-olds. He's still this icon, that he was to your generation, Ron.
Well, I think, this is the amazing thing. And, you could be talking about Coltrane or Miles Davis, Janis Joplin. There's certain things that just are never going to be gone, but to hear it in real time, you know what I mean? I remember when I heard Mott the Hoople, and Bowie had given them, all the young dudes, imagine giving somebody one of the greatest songs ever written. And he also offered them Suffragette City, and they're like, no, not really. That's not really what we're looking for. But the line in that song where he's saying, my brother's back at home with his Beatles and the Stones, there's no way that you could understand what a kick in the stomach that was to the 60s generation who had owned popular culture. To say that shit's over, you know what I mean, is very much like what a painter does with the generation. Even though he might have grown up studying those guys, he kind of turns on them. I also remember from that thing, being a kid, and seeing that it said David Bowie produced for Main Man. And I'm like, well, who's his main man? Who's he talking about? Is this sexual? Is this a drug dealer? And here it's like a fucking production company, but I'm a kid. I'm like, who's his fucking main man? I know who the main man in this neighborhood is, I don't know who his main man is, but I always thought, and that's produced by him, I always thought that was the greatest riff to any beginning of any song in history.
Yeah, and you're right to say that this is one of many.
Yeah. Take it.
Yeah. I've got more.
I got more, and I got more coming, and he wasn't kidding, but still, that's probably the only song that Mott the Hoople's famous for.
Definitely,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
I mean, they did a lot of great music, but to be absolutely known for something, it's that. Just play the opening riff, Chris. That's my life. Now, Yoris, Franz, you bring them down. That's Bowie produced that from the Hoople. Hey, Flathead just wrote this to me. And just to show you how the world has changed so much. He says, I remember wearing a Bowie shirt to gym class with football coach Chip Carroll. He asked me if I was a fruitcake. Can you imagine that the heat somebody would take today? What are you, a fruitcake? This is gym class, son. What a moron. Say that to some kid. It's also funny to think that you could go to gym class wearing a Bowie.
Thinking the same thing. That's pretty bold.
Well, you
pretty serious.
Most of the time back then we were wearing cutoffs because we thought the gym shorts came across a little odd.
I guess I'll just wear my Bowie shirt to the gym.
Yeah. Looks good, right? The Bowie shirt. Talking about Mr. David Bowie. All of us here are big fans of it, but it's amazing the amount of of just music and art, not to mention the movies that he left behind. Hey, Elliot, what's up?
Yeah, hi.
Hey.
I've been listening for a very long time, and I don't usually call in, but I thought I would this morning, or I guess it's evening, afternoon there. I'm all weirded out with time. I'm in Rome right now.
Oh, sweet.
And I found out about Bowie's death while I was walking through the Colosseum and ended up listening to Hunky Dory walking around a 2,000-year-old structure, and it was a very strange experience. And I think I probably fell in love with Bowie, similar to some other listeners that have called in, because of you guys. And I think that other people have sort of said it, but like he was really a rallying point where you could identify cool people by their opinions on Bowie. And you could always have good conversations on Bowie because there wasn't an automatic answer to your favorite album or your favorite song.
Sure. Changes.
Like,
it always rolls.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like, I there's no wrong answer to your favorite Bowie song. It's not like your favorite Stone song or your favorite Beatles song where you can sort of cast someone aside if they give a weird answer. Like any Bowie song.
Well, you know, here's to me is the strangest one of all. There was a forgotten Bowie song that got played in a couple, I guess, movies, and now it might be the number one Bowie song. But Life on Mars was not a radio hit. It was not a thing. And it always, of Hunky Dory, it always slayed me, but it was considered like a deep cut.
Really?
And now you'll hear just like regular people like Love Night and Life on Mars, and you're like, what? Let's go over to Tony in Arizona. Tony.
Yo, what's up, dude? Man, this is a fucking brutal day, man. You know, Bowie kind of milestones your life. You listen to some when you're a teenager tripping. You listen to some as you get older, and just fucking hard to lose an icon like that so quickly after he put out something new that was pretty great. But I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to Black Star yet, but it's definitely a love letter to the world, you know, a goodbye letter, and that's pretty unique to be able to do that. I think that's a pretty good blessing that he was able to put out one last thing to kind of cap off his career. Have you had a chance to check it out yet?
Yeah. And again, I haven't completely embraced it yet. I very rarely have embraced anything probably since Diamond Dogs on the first listen. It always takes me this thing before I completely fall in love with it. But can you think of another 69-year-old man who puts out something that the critics take and the fans take immediate notice? This is before they found out this tragic news, because no one knew when this came out the other day that this was people were still doing hey, do you think he's going to tour on this? Do you think he'll be in the Broadway play? People were just talking about that as yesterday. So, but when's the last time, and it's nothing against them, the Stones put out an album that people took seriously, or Paul McCartney put out an album, or Elton John? People just, at a certain point, they go, okay, there's your creative point in your life, and we put you there, you know? Brian Wilson's, you know, where people said that's the end of it. But Bowie, they were willing to And it didn't mean that they fawned over him. Most critics would kick the shit out of him for the past 20 years. But they did, in fact, take him seriously.
Yeah, you're right, for somebody to make new albums like that, and people always wanted to show up and be there and check it out. And you're right, whether or not it was your favorite or it wasn't really your thing or it grew on you, it was always taken seriously. The album, even before this one,
Dark Star.
Before that one, it was the one Where Are We Now? Yeah. It was on it. And when that came out, I remember hearing that song and just being like, how's this guy do it? Like, you know, and I kept listening to it over and over and kept listening to it for a few days and thinking, how is he able to stay, so relevant. Relevant and connected, but new. He's not emulating any other sound that's going on today. Like, I'm going to make an album that sounds like the rest of them now because that's what I should do. He was still kind of paving his own way, and everyone was happy to follow him while he did it.
Well, you know, like if people can sit back now and look at the entire 80s MTV thing as being some kind of watered down Bowie, Roxy Music era. And then what's also interesting is how many women were like, oh, I started from a Bowie point. How many comedians will even say it? Who's the I'm trying to think. Oh, Cameron Esposito just put out that thing where she had the bolt on her. Another thing with comedy is that Bowie back in the 80s used to show up, and he was like a Stephen Wright fan. He was a Bobcat Goldthwait fan,
right,
and friend, which is another reason to go. Bobcat is like on a whole nother level from where other people ever put him. But you know, we brought up the Gervais. Look, there's the Carmen Esposito. That shit's great.
It's awesome.
And taking the androgyny back in a different direction, you know? Where now that almost looks like, hey, is she going for a masculine thing?
Right,
you know?
Whereas, for him...
For him, it was complete, he's going for a feminine thing. All right, let's play the Ricky Gervais piece that was off Extras. And Ricky played this character who had wanted to do a certain kind of sitcom and then ended up selling out the entire way. And then he runs into David Bowie and tries to tell him his, problems of selling out. And I don't know where you're going with it, Chris, or I don't know what I'm looking at here, but where are you starting at?
From this, when the song starts?
Yeah, let's go back just a couple minutes before. So, because the funny part of it is, it doesn't have to go all the way back to the beginning, but back to where, he comes over to meet Bowie, because he starts explaining his problems to Bowie, and that's what really makes it funny.
I'll jump for that window. Thank you. Hi.
Hi. We were just saying that I'm an entertainer too.
Oh, yeah? What do you do?
I'm in a sitcom.
It's called When the Whistle Blows. Have you seen it?
I haven't, no. Is it any good?
Nice shit! Oh, just riffraff everywhere.
Not going down too well, huh?
It's getting 6 million viewers. I mean, it's not exactly how I meant it to be, because the BBC have interfered and sort of chased ratings and made it lowest common denominator sort of comedy, sort of catchphrases and wigs. And I think I've sold out, to be honest, but yeah, it's difficult, isn't it, to keep your integrity when you're going for that first...
Little fat man who sold his soul.
The
little fat man who sold his dream. Chubby little loser. Chubby little loser. National joke. No, not chubby little loser. No. Pathetic little fat man. No one's bloody laughing. The clown that no one laughs at. They all just wish he died. He's so depressed at being useless. The fat man takes his own life. No. He's so depressed at being hated. Fatty takes his own life. Fatty, Fatso, Fatty.
Fatso, I like Fatso.
Yeah, let's go with Fatso. Fatso takes his own life. He blows his bloated face off. No. He blows his stupid brains out.
But the twat probably miss.
Yes, Linda, I like that.
Yeah, so do I. It's brilliant, Linda.
He sold his soul for a shot at fame. Catchphrase and wig and the jokes are lame. He's got no style, he's got no grace. He's banal and facile, he's a fat waste of space. Yeah. Everybody sing that last line. 1, 2, 3. He's banal and facile, he's a fat waste of space. See his pug-nosed face. Pug,
Pug, pug, pug.
again. See his pug-nosed face.
Pug,
Pug, pug, pug, again. See his pug-nosed face. Pug, 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 pug. The little fat man with the pug-nosed face. Pug, 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 pug. Little fat man, pug-nosed face. Hey, pug, 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 pug. He's a little fat man, pug-nosed face. Pug, 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 pug.
I think what's also so great there is like his friends are with him and his agent, and they join in. They just love it. Now, when Gervais, first time he ever came in to do O&A, I'm like, what? You got fucking Ricky Gervais coming in from England? Because he wasn't really coming to America much then. So like, I called him, I'm like, I'm coming in too, right? So I bring this story up to him, and he said he had written the lyrics and all and approached Bowie with it. And, Bowie, as we said, Bowie likes comedy. And he said to Bowie, he goes, like, write up a kind of a, like a Life on Mars thing. And Bowie goes, yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll write just another Life on Mars.
just throw one of those together.
Yeah, I'll be right over. I'll just do another Life on Mars and hand it to you because everything I do comes so easily to me. Isn't that fucking great, though?
It's really funny.
And that's the thing that's so funny about Gervais is that he would write up. I mean, obviously, if you've ever seen any pictures of Gervais when he was little, he was just doing a straight glam thing. He tried to be in a band. No, he was in a band, had an album out. But to bring that back and then have that guy make fun of him, you know what I mean, instead of like him. Like, here's what I want you to do. Just start calling me names and stuff. This is the Bennington Show, talking about David Bowie. Gone now. And I never found out in New York City, Chris, do anyone know that for a fact of if this took place in New York?
I read it took place in London.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I read, yeah.
I had no idea where he was, and obviously none of us knew that he was sick. You want to break for a second, Chris?
Yeah, we should break, yeah.
Why don't we break, and we'll be right back. This is the Bennington Show, thinking about David Bowie. That is Halloween Jack, the Thin White Duke, Major Tom, the man who fell to earth, the man who sold the world, the cat with a lot of nicknames, Ziggy Stardust himself, David Bowie. One day after his life ends, this is the Bennington Show, and we started this off, of course, from A Place of Mourning, but you can't listen to this music without celebrating it.
No, he's so full of life, and his music is full of life, and it makes me feel that he'll never be without. We'll always have him.
We'll always
with
have
us.
Bowie.
Yeah, and that's because of his music, but also just his spirit and his creativity and his life.
Here is Mike in New York. Hey, Mike.
Hey. My son woke up this morning, he's 10 years old, and he saw the news, and he screamed, and then he started to well up, and I went in, I'm like, what's wrong? Said he saw the news, and he looked up, he goes, I'm never going to be able to see him live. And every couple of months, he's always checking out which shows are coming around. I always try to take him at least to the guys I think are never going to come back again. But the last few years, every time he's checking out the shows, he's always, when's Bowie coming? When is Bowie coming? And even last week when Black Star came out, he's like, Dad, I swear this time he's got to come touring because the new album, he's got to come this time.
You know what's funny? He's 10 and he could be a buddy of mine because I was in this conversation of, do you think he's going to do this? Somebody wrote to me, by the way, did you ever dress like Bowie? I'm like, not only did I not, I never knew anyone who did, but I knew a lot of chicks who did that. And I always found it incredibly sexy. And I remember Jerry and Irwin came to the senior prom looking like Bowie and wearing a tux. Unbelievable.
I cut my hair in the like Ziggy Stardust kind of hunky-dory mullet, dyed it orange, and I was like, I probably can't pull this off, but I'm gonna try.
You look like a very nice boy when you did that.
I looked like a very nice boy.
Here's Jeff in Indiana. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Ronnie. How you doing?
Good, man.
All right. I just wanted to tell you about the first time I heard Bowie. I was at my buddy Larry's house, and he had this giant cabinet looking, could be a chest of a record player, and he played The Man Who Sold the World.
Unbelievable, right?
Unbelievable. You gave him that nickname earlier, obviously, but kind of a coincidence. But
well, when Nirvana went back and did that in the early 90s, and it still sounded
unbelievable.
Yeah. And I kind of feel like every rock star since has had to think about Bowie. You know what I mean? Like, even pop stars, like if you look at Madonna or anybody, they're like, I will rot if I stay in the same place. I have to keep moving. We've got that down. Bowie already taught us that,
Yeah.
And I think it's probably true of actors and maybe even people themselves. I don't know if years before, if somebody felt like that they could change their personality and get away with it. But if you look at Madonna, she did it throughout her career. Even though I don't think that the music had anything to do with it, but the fact to keep changing had everything to do with it. Here's Wayne in Boston. Hey, Wayne.
Hey, Ron, Gail. I just wanted to call. You guys were the first thing I thought of when I read this on the internet last night. I just picked up the album, on Friday, right before you guys went on the air, and listened to it all weekend, and even listened to it on the drive into work last night when he died. And I got a text from my girlfriend who was in Taiwan, and she said, David Bowie has cancer. And I was like, really? I said, I didn't know that. So I went on the internet to look it up, and then I saw that he died like 22 minutes earlier. And I had no idea of any of this.
No one did.
And,
as far as I know, the only people who knew was his family and his producer, Tony Visconti, who almost did our show last week?
Last week, yeah.
And I figured Tony must have heard that there was a turn for the worse. That's why he didn't give it. He gave some kind of excuse like, "Oh, we're going to be recording something or practicing."
You go to rehearsal or something, and
and what makes it worse, I listened to the album all weekend, and I have a friend, and she just told me that she has stage 4 cancer on Saturday. So now this puts a whole different spin on this new album.
Yeah, no kidding. Obviously.
She knows I'm a big fan. I had talked to her right before I found out this, and it's been, and then when I turned the show on today, I heard Gail, Brian, I was like, the whole thing is like I've been a kick in the stomach to me.
Sure.
But yeah, I'd started listening to it back, right around Scary Monsters, a little bit before that.
God, that's a great song too, man. There are so many great songs that even if we just did song after song, I don't think that we'd get through it in 3 hours of all the songs that we'd want to play. By the way, we came back with that song for our own Chris Stanley. That's your favorite, huh?
By far, yeah. That's my favorite Bowie right there. I love Halloween Jacket. It might have the best opening line to a song ever.
What's that?
With "This ain't rock and roll, this is genocide."
It was a very strange line.
I don't
know exactly what kind of escape from New York weirdness he was in there.
Right, because it is rock and roll.
Yeah, it's not
But it
genocide.
is.
No, it's genocide.
It's almost Stones. That's like their like almost Stonesiest of all songs he's ever done. Eric.
Hey, Ron. How
That
you
and
doing?
Genie though.
Yeah,
that's another one. It sounds like. What's up, Eric?
Hey, let me put down my Bowie knife and talk to you. Hey, listen, I don't know if you remember back in the 70s, I was a kid, like, in junior high, and he did the Elephant Man off Broadway.
I think that was actually even in the 80s, right?
Maybe.
Late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
out of high school by then.
Yeah, of
You know,
course.
it was a school field trip, and it was off Broadway. I know that. So that's all I got.
No, man, and you got a chance to see that? That's
I know, isn't that
incredible.
sick?
Yeah.
And you know what they did, too? He came out and he just stood there in a loincloth, and then they went on and they're like, he had a deformed shoulder, so he put his shoulder down and his foot was clubbed and he put one of the feet back, you know, and he stayed like that the whole play.
He did it in front of everybody so that you wouldn't think that it was makeup or anything. He basically did what Joey Jojo did just the other day. But, you know, he was also, when he was a kid, he had studied mime. So that was where a lot of the stage stuff came from as well. Here's a thing that had been going around the internet this has been going around the internet for years, but a lot of people had sent it to me. And I think it's something that you're supposed to give when you got a weird kid or a weird neighbor or a weird nephew and you want to help out. It says, when in doubt, listen to David Bowie. In 1968, Bowie was a gay, ginger, bonk-eyed, snaggletooth freak walking around South London in a dress, being shouted at by thugs. 4 years later, he was still exactly that, but everyone else wanted to be like him too. If David Bowie can make being David Bowie cool, you can make you cool. Plus, unlike David Bowie, you get to listen to David Bowie for inspirations. So you're one up on him, really. You're already one ahead of David Bowie. What's your Bowie song, Gail?
My Bowie song, and it's hard to choose, but this one stands out to me because it's very hard for me to explain what it is that I love about that song. And I think the reason is because it is so much about the mysteries of life and how marvelous and weird it is to be a living, breathing human being. And to me, whenever I listen to Starman, I'm in church. It's to me like one of the most spiritual songs, and it really is a religion in some ways to me.
Well, you got to let the children boogie. That's always really important. That's for Gail. Starman. My little tribute to the then White Duke, David Bowie. Here is Vinny in Westchester. Our phone number, 844-ROCK-GOD. 844-ROCK-GOD. What's up, Vinny?
Hey, guys, I just want to say I love the show, and I really love what really makes me happy. I miss Fez, but I love Gail when she sings, along with Pretty Good Fries Closet.
Yeah.
But a couple of things. One is my niece was just in a video with Bowie in November, and she said he looked good. And she didn't. I called her last night after I found out. She said he looked fine and everything. They filmed it in Brooklyn in a sound studio.
Mm-hmm.
And the only time I ever saw, I've seen everybody in concert, and the only time I ever saw Bowie for some reason, I don't know why it never worked out, is I saw him at the China Club. He jumped up on stage with this girl band who I don't even know. I was kind of tripping at the time, so I don't really remember a lot of it, but I was like out of my mind because like the songs, I'm positive he sang Heroes, but for some reason, the Heroes and Changes, like have always meant different things to me at different times. They've kind of evolved with me.
Yeah.
You know, you remember when I was a kid, and I'm really sad today. But love your show, love you guys. Gail is unbelievable, and always makes me happy when she sings.
Yeah, she's adorable. And Here is Sean in Connecticut. Hey, Sean.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, man.
It's a real sad day. As a musician, I just want to say how much Bowie would be. For like a year straight, every time I get my paycheck, I go buy Aladdin, Stain, Hunky Dory, Van Stone's World, and it's just unbelievable, the songwriting, so I'm a little broken up about it.
Is the stuff that he threw away and left. And here's another thing I guarantee you. For the rest of your life, these songs are going to appear that Bowie never put out, or just weird cover songs that he did.
Sure.
And you're going to, just have them show up.
Aladdin saying that song is really what kicked me off to really get deep into the stuff. I mean, that song is just amazing.
It's phenomenal. It's crazy. And
the imagery in it and just the feeling of that music. Wow, powerful.
All right, thanks so much, Sean.
Thanks, guys.
Peace. Lewis in Manhattan. What's up, Lewis?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm sad today, man. When I heard the news, it was like losing my cousin all over again because he was such a huge fan of David Bowie. He's a gay kid growing up in Manhattan. He used to go downtown and he knew all those guys. Like, he would go to see, the Ramones, David Bowie, Madonna. He was, like, into all of that, and I learned about that music through him. So when I heard that on Twitter, I couldn't even look at the computer anymore. I just moved away from the computer.
The fact that we've lost so many of those people and that 2/3 of the Holy Trilogy are gone, we lost Lou, we lost Bowie, and we just have Iggy left of that famous picture that those guys did together. It was an exciting time for New York City, though, man.
He was so on that scene, man. He passed away from AIDS in 2006. I mean, he was just a really cool guy, and that's how I always connect through him with David Bowie, and it's just awful. But also, what I wanted to point out was listening to your show also kept me in contact with David Bowie. And one of the most kick-ass things I think you ever did on your show, it was when you was on the Ron and Fez show. I think there was like a men's soccer game or something going on, and the Americans were doing well or something, and you played "I'm Afraid of Americans."
I think we started threatening Spain or whoever it was with that
so
song.
Badass, man. You need to please play that, man. That was so badass.
I'm worried that this is going to become Donald Trump's theme song. I'm a little nervous about it. This is basically Bowie, melding with Nine Inch Nails. It's an amazing, amazing song, and he probably was in his 50s when he did this. David Bowie. I forgot that I saw him do that down at the Tribeca Film Festival, and he blew the place up.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like the year after, like the spring or something, after 9/11.
Yeah.
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. There's so much Bowie.
Where was that? That was down...
It was down right near, what's that, like Battery Park?
Battery Park, exactly. That's where it was. And
they used to do that. Like, I think you had to go through American Express, but I was working for a radio station at the time. But they had, like, Wycliffe was on that show, Counting Crows. I can't remember who else. I was going to say Sharon Jones, but she couldn't have been around then. I'll just say it was Sharon Jones, probably in the Dap Kings. Oh, you know who it was? It was the Leaving Las Vegas girl, Sheryl Crow.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly who it was.
By the way, I haven't seen Bowie off of our news feeds all day long, which, again, amazing when somebody's 69 and it rattled everybody's cages in a big, big way. This is the Bennington Show, 844 Rock God, 844 Rock God, just doing our little tribute to David Bowie. Here is, let's go up to Danner in Michigan. What's up, dude?
Hey, man, I really appreciate you doing this because I just feel bad because I forgot about it. Like, I forgot to keep up. And it not his fault. It was totally mine. I just forgot that he existed on the same planet as I did. And
Well, you grow up and all that stuff isn't as important to you, or there's other things that are important. But if it ever did mean anything, and by the way, just Bowie happens to be our thing. There's always something that can bring people joy. I mean, like if Willie Nelson would have died, I think we'd be crushed also today.
Yeah, that's true. And so much of it is when you listen to the music, it brings you to whatever time it had significance to you. It doesn't necessarily even mean the time that it came out or the time, but it's a time that it struck you or it found you. And I think more than anything, it's about the way it makes you feel about yourself and then the way you connect with other people. Because is there anything better than finding out that you love something so intensely the way somebody else does?
Oh, it's amazing. It's always an amazing thing. Or you can turn that person onto it, or they turn you onto it.
Yeah.
You're like, I didn't even know about this scene, and start to love it. Here's Steve in California. Hey, Steve.
Hey, guys. I was doing pretty well this morning until I heard Gail crack at Starman. So,
that's Gail.
When I heard about the new... Yeah, I know. I love you,
Emotion
Gail.
is hard for me. It doesn't come easy.
Yeah.
Now, when you called it church, I just lost it. So last night, I'm hugging my wife, and I thought of you guys because I know he means everything to you like he does us. My wife shares a birthday with Bowie and Elvis, and just 2 days ago, we spent the whole day picking apart, the king and Bowie, who's also the king to us. And I told her the story that I've attributed to you. I hope it's you, Ron. When you were in a room and Bowie walked in, and he just about floated across the room, and every single eye turned. Was that you?
Yes, and this is in New York City with a lot of amazing people were in that same room that night. You know what I mean? Yeah, and
totally.
I'm not sure if Bowie's feet, as far as any of us saw, were on the ground. It was amazing. And if you would have told me that, your night of seeing Julian Schnabel and Peter Beard and Laurie Anderson and Lou Reed, I mean, these are all people that you would, like a kid would fantasize about being at this party.
In that room.
Yeah.
And yet it could take their breath away to see him walk in.
Everybody could have taken a knee. I mean, it was seriously exhausting to have Bowie walk into that room that night. And I'm so glad, that I had that experience. Because certainly the people in that room were, in their own minds, cool enough not to act that way. And it was just something, it wasn't up to you. It just wasn't up to you. Here's Bill in Connecticut. How are you, buddy?
Hey, Ronnie D. First time, long time.
Yeah.
Just calling in with a few thoughts on Bowie. I want to think, what made him so special, I think, is, that he was, a multifaceted individual. I mean, theater, art, music, fashion, just sort of, spanned all of those genres, whereas, there are other rock stars, if you will, who, may have been fashion icons, but that was the extent of it. And the other thing I want to say about Bowie was that, I'm sure you've heard this question posed to you before. It's sort of like, okay, if you could invite, 3 people to dinner,
all of them would be Bowie.
Who would you invite? And I'd always start with Bowie, and I wouldn't know where to go from there. But I always knew that Bowie would be, the number one guest at my table. That's it.
Why don't you just have Bowie in 2 empty chairs? This was sent to us from John Warren. David Bowie passed away in his home in New York City, not London.
Oh,
Pepper
wow.
or Joe failed to do any research. Yeah, but they got to watch a show, and that was important.
I definitely read London.
Where? Show it to us.
I'll find it right now.
Show it to us. All right, we got to take a break here. We get back. What are we doing, Chris?
Mr. Gary Goldman's stopped by.
He's like a giant Bowie fan?
Not sure if he's a giant Bowie fan.
Why would he be here for the Bowie tribute then?
Because probably should have rescheduled it.
Why don't we take a break here? It's 844 Rock God. Hashtag Bennington. This is the Bennington Show. Mr. Gary Goldman in studio with us. He wanted to be here the morning David Bowie's passing with us.
Wow, yeah, I found out about that this morning. That really.
What time?
I would say it was about 11 a.m.
Okay, so Gail, you gave him 9 hours of sleep, and you gave me 0 hours. I got a 2 a.m.
You did
from
get a
Gail
2 a.m.
to let me know.
Oh, wow.
And she just went, I just heard the news. And I'm like, what news?
Yeah.
She's like having a paper boy.
I know.
At night. But you say you're not in the best mood.
No, I've had I've been struggling.
Struggling how?
Well, I have been, I have a depressive disorder,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's really been, I don't know if I should be talking about this.
I think you should be talking
all right.
about
Well,
it.
it's really been bad since like March, like really bad, and I'm taking all this medication and stuff, and it's not really.
Do you have things in life that bring you joy? Because you bring other people joy.
Yeah, that's the issue. I no longer really there's nothing really that I remember I used to look forward to things, but now I don't.
I was literally just talking about this today because of David Bowie. David Bowie was so important to me.
Yeah.
When I was a kid. And then I'm like, I guess like a school shooter doesn't have that kind of thing where he can be an audience member that is so in love that they can't wait for the next thing, you know?
Yeah.
Now you have that. You actually have the gift in life, which is the gift to make people laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm grateful for that, but I I feel like a failure. So,
how would you be a failure? Matter of fact, who every time I have somebody coming in here, we were actually supposed to have a piece up today, but it didn't come in till the last moment, of people who use their television shots, comics, as good as anyone. And Gary Goldman was my pick because when he does Conan or any other show, it's precise, it's perfect, it's used exactly the way that spot is supposed to be used. How could you ever consider yourself a failure?
Because I'm stupid. I compare myself to other people in the business, and I'm just like, nobody knows who I am. So I'm like, it's the depression, you know. It's
right.
These things
it's not the real. Yeah, it's not real.
Rational, really.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, because from outside perspective, you look at what you do. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I look like I got my shit together, but as it turns out, I'm a mess.
Maybe you need to come in here every day, and then we're going to fix it. That's what I want to do. One of the first things I'm going to do, change your diet and have you running almost 12 to 14 hours a day. I feel that I could I could exhaust you so much.
Yeah.
You know, let me coach you.
You know, it's funny because I was running the other night and I was like, you know who might have the wisdom to help you out, Gary? It was, and I thought Ron was the guy.
Here's what we're going to do when you run.
Lived.
Yeah. I've lived, I've loved, I've lost, relived, and then lost other people's loves. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get in a wagon. You're going to pull me the whole time that you run. Because I don't want to be out there running myself. Sure. And I'm just going to sit and talk to you about there's got to be a key that we can find there.
Yeah.
So you're seeing a shrink, you're doing therapy
I'm
as well?
All that stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few times a week. So I'm fighting it.
Yeah, you got to, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we got to find things that give you just any pleasure at all. You know? I've got an idea, and I brought this up before, is there's nothing more exciting than taboo love. So if you have a married friend and you start an affair with that person's wife, the excitement in your life will be like you won't be able to believe.
They say that's better than Zoloft.
I agree 100%.
That's what living's about.
It is. Taboo love.
This is taboo love.
Yeah.
And this is a terrible decision, but it feels excellent right now in this moment.
Like right before you start ravaging each other, you'd be like, did anyone follow you here? Does anybody know what we're doing? And it feels so amazing.
Oh my God.
It feels so fantastic.
Yeah. The spot. Yeah. Yes.
That and running, both.
Yeah. Running is important, especially if you're pulling me in a wagon. By the way, does this affect your ability to write comedy?
It affects my ability to write it, but not perform it. Like I can perform, like you wouldn't know anything was wrong with me. I don't know how that works, but I haven't, like, I came up with a lot of stuff for this last leg of the tour that I did, like starting in October. And from last March till October, I was trying to come up with a new hour to bring out on the road. So I was able to do that somehow. But then, like since then, my memory doesn't work that well, and I've had a hard time finding, like, thinking that things are really, really that great. Like, I'm very, very critical of the stuff I write.
Right.
So
So you shouldn't be the editor of that stuff, by the way. You should let someone else decide. The other thing is losing any kind of memory. That means that's great. Just do more bad things that you can forget. So this way, you won't, you know what I mean? You're not going to sit around and be like, oh, why did I do that? You won't even remember why you did that.
Yeah, that would be great, because I spent a lot of time, I was going to ask you about this. I spent a lot of time with regrets, and it drives me crazy.
You can't have any regrets. First of all, you can only live in this moment.
Right.
Okay? That thing doesn't even exist anymore. Future doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is right now, and you're fucking slaying right now. You come here crazy honest. Everybody's into you. Everyone's like leaning in like, he's depressed. I thought I was depressed.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't look like I'm depressed because I've been able to keep it together, but
dude, you know what a big market the depressed people are? I mean, you could fucking own it. This is almost like when someone finds out that they're gay, they're like, hey, I'm going to pick up a following where I didn't think before, you know? You've got the depressed market now. Get those people to come out. And like, they're like, oh, I fucking have regrets too.
Oh, but they isolate. It might be an empty, be an empty theater.
Periscope then. I mean, we got to figure, you know what I mean? You're good. You know, Artie stays in his, kitchen now and just works to people and they pay him $8-10 a month. That might be you with the depression people.
Oh.
I'll tell you this. I don't know too many people in my life that say they don't have a depression or anxiety problem. You have anxiety?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Why do those two things go together? They seem like they shouldn't.
Because of what you said about not living now. You're living with anxiety. You're like worried about the future, I think.
Right.
And so that brings about the anxiety.
Look, I'm going to help everybody here. The future sucks. I fucking know that for a fact. You know, you look at anything that you like and it ain't getting better. So now you got to take care of it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I tell people, eat your breadsticks. You know, forget about the vegetables. That's just going to keep you alive. Yeah. Eat your breadsticks now.
Yeah, you're right.
You're getting enough breadsticks? Damn, you're so funny, dude.
Oh, thanks.
You're so funny. And like, I'm not kidding. When you do anything on TV, there's only a few people in people forget how good Jay Leno always was.
Oh, yeah.
Of doing a talk show, or Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld went out and did like the talk show thing for years and years and years before they handed him the Seinfeld show. And I still don't know if he's ever done anything better than going out and doing 5.5 minutes.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, that's interesting because PIX has been running the old Johnny Carson shows.
Yeah.
Every night. And so I've been recording them and watching them. And it's just, it's like, anthropology, you know?
Sure.
It's fascinating.
Well, what also is interesting is look what was important to people at different times. No one gives a shit now.
Yeah.
I mean, at one time, all they cared about was Clinton's fucking dress.
Yeah.
His jizzy dress. That came up every day. No one seems to be upset about it. Now, I see him driving around saying hi to people. I mean, he worked through it.
Yeah.
You know? There were a million things that people used to pay attention to. They don't anymore. So that means, why pay attention to it now?
Right.
What's bothering you now? You got a girl in your life?
Yeah, I have a girlfriend. Yeah.
What's she's really nice for you?
She's really nice. She's very supportive.
Yeah.
And, she hasn't threatened to leave me or anything like that. So that's good.
Maybe if you have an affair that she doesn't know about. I mean, this is the stuff that brings excitement.
That's the other side of it. I have no interest in
sex at all?
Sex at all. Yeah. Yeah. I'm broken, man.
When's the last time?
It's been over a month.
Okay, here's the thing. You just bring that up to her and say, maybe Oral's going to take me out of this. You know what I mean? Maybe if I just sat here, you know?
About it.
Yeah. You know what's probably fucking with your sexual thing is the drugs that you're taking, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're not helping.
What drugs are you taking right now?
I take, Wellbutrin and Prozac and Risperidone and Ativan.
Sounds like a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
Yeah. Is this something you've been dealing with for a long time?
Yeah, since I was, when I was a freshman in college, I wanted to quit the football team, so they sent me to a therapist, and that's when I was diagnosed with a depressive disorder when I was 19.
Now, do you think that's why you quit the football team, or did you quit because it hurts?
I don't know that. I don't know the reason I played football. I was just very athletic.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that killer instinct or that dominant gene that really wanted to push everybody around and tackle. I remember one time we, there was this guy who I had breakfast with every morning. He was a walk-on player, so he wasn't on scholarship, and he was little and he wasn't paying attention. And but I had breakfast with him like every day during the workouts and everything like that. And then it came time to really hit him, and I was just like, well, what is the point? The play is way over there. I'm not gonna
that is
lay him
true.
out. So I pulled up, and I was like, that's not really the football mentality. So I could jump high and run fast. So that's why I was able to play college football, but I wasn't mentally I wasn't ready.
You just didn't feel like knocking people down.
Yeah.
At every, 18 seconds? Or, you take a little break, and then you go back into knocking each other down. By the way, I would throw Joey Porter out of the game of football after what he did the other night of walking out and getting the other team mad. I mean, to me, I now think the Steelers are like whatever Darth Vader's team is called. What are that?
The Sith.
They're the Sith. That's what I'm calling the Steelers from this point. They bring a dark energy into the world, and the Wookiees should attack him. Some of the robots, the droids. The soccer ball robot should attack. Did you watch all these movies?
Oh yeah. The
special needs child that Leia had with Han Solo.
Oh shoot!
It broke them up. It broke the two of them up.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like there was that strong of a bond.
I don't think that they cared for each other. I really don't. No, I think it was all sexual, and then she gained weight. That's what I believe.
It seems like
I don't like this
a really realistic ex-wife, ex-husband thing going on there. And of course, the kid was a mess.
Oh, yeah. Nobody watched him. He was a latchkey kid.
There was so much resentment there.
But Han had zero personal growth. I mean, zero personal growth.
Same style.
He looked the same. He was hanging out with the same dude. They were just fucking around, getting in trouble. And I honestly think that if I had this school shooter of a child, I'd be focusing more on it, even if it was an adult. I'd be like, we can't, what's that, the kid's name?
Kylo Ren.
We can't let Kylo run around like that. He's our responsibility, I'd be saying.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be acting like, oh, me and this dog are going out and running some stolen fucking merchandise.
Stop in at another cantina.
Yeah. It's grow up. Stop it.
Yeah. He was never able to use the esteem everybody held him in after the Return of the Jedi to his advantage. To maybe get some sort of promotional jobs.
It seemed like he could have been doing a lot of work. And you're right. People cared about him.
Yeah.
But not for him.
But he went back to the piracy, and it's.
I think a lot of it had to do with not being able to deal with a special needs kid. I really do. And that kid is basically a school shooter at this point.
Who was jealous that his father was spending so much time with a Wookiee?
Probably, but I don't think he had a lot in common. I'm going to even go so far. I think Luke is that kid's father. I don't think it's Han.
Incest.
Wait. This is Disney. There's no way that could have happened.
I don't see any Han in that kid at all.
Mm-mm. You're right.
And then when that kid kills, I'll just say, spoiler alert. I'll never say, there wasn't a wet eye in the house when that happened.
You're right.
No one cared.
It was devoid of emotion. No
one cared.
Considering the history and it's just like
that character, spoiler alert, has been around for a long time and no one cared. Now look at us today when Bowie died. We could barely function.
Yeah.
I want to go in your pocket and just start eating all of your pills. How long does it take to kick in?
Like a month.
But what if I crush it and snort it? Still the same thing?
Yeah, I don't know that you get any effect from that method. Yeah.
Works for me, though. It makes me feel like I'm really edgy with it.
There is something to the application that way.
And, when I was doctor fishing and stuff, I would even do it like that in their office. I'm like, you know what? If I crush it up right here, I bet it works before I get out to the car. What do you guys think? By the way, let's put up on the iBank. Joey Jojo's from Minnesota. His team got destroyed.
That was absolutely heartbreaking.
But this is hilarious. People have filmed themselves at the end of the game, and you see how they handle it. That is how the world has changed. People want their ecstasy and their destruction to be on the internet.
Wow.
Can't get it, Chris?
I'm bringing it up now.
It's the iBank.com.
Bring up the Viking stuff.
Yeah, it'd be a great idea. This is just people, if you go over to the Interbank today, you will see them at that moment that the shanked thing. And now, it's funny because we teased you from when you were a little kid that you and your brother started crying.
Yeah.
And what was it, 99?
98, yeah. At the NFC Championship when Gary Anderson missed the game-winning field goal to go to the Super Bowl against the Atlanta
What year was that?
98.
98.
Yeah.
And so you would have went to the 99
Super Bowl, correct, yep.
And then you and your brother just stood facing each other and crying really hard.
Yeah, it was so rough.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was 8.
Oh,
wow.
Time.
Yeah.
Wow.
But say what happened when you said, hey, is this going to be okay? What your brother said.
Yeah, I was like, he goes, don't worry. He hasn't missed a field goal all year.
Oh.
And you just believed it. You're like, great.
I believed it.
Yeah.
And
now, knowing that, when this field goal was going to take place, did you feel like...
I was rooting for it. I wanted it to go in. And in the back of my mind, having followed this team for so long, I was like, there's no way. There's no way he's going to make it.
Now, does anyone believe in kind of a life energy where since enough people weren't believing that, even the ones from Minnesota, that perhaps it got into that guy's?
Yeah, we've lost in such a shattering way so many times that when we're in that position, I think a lot of Minnesotan fans were like, okay, how are we going to get out of this one? What's going to happen?
How are we going to lose?
How are we going to lose this time?
And it's sometime, like if millions of people are thinking that, how could that not get in that kid's psyche?
Yeah, or even just like the history is that he's standing there knowing that history and the pressure of doing it. And that's a pressure for anyone, obviously, no matter what team. But I think if you have that kind of weight of, we have been here before and we always miss, and that's what happens.
Like if you go out golfing and you got like a 3-foot putt, nothing could be easier. And then if someone says, by the way, if you make that 3-foot putt, I'll give you $10,000. Suddenly now, it's way harder,
Yeah.
But let's show some of these people as they found out the miss in real time. And they just filmed themselves living a life.
You fucking
piece of shit.
Oh.
There comes the dog to lick him.
Hey, buddy. What's up? What's going on?
Would Birdie have done that for you?
Yes, she does.
Yeah,
Any extreme emotion.
My dogs really, they attack once
you're down?
Once I go down, yeah.
All right, here's another lady. This is not going to work then. Why don't we move on?
Boy.
But
I watched right after it had happened. I went on Periscope and found this girl who was on there, and she's still in her jersey. She's got purple lipstick on and purple eyeshadow, and she's just leaning against her hand. She's not saying anything at all. She's just staring, and then every 30 seconds she would just say, "I can't." I can't.
Well, I'll tell you guys what I did really quick.
Hold on and don't step on somebody else's bit in case they have something.
But then from that moment, finally somebody just pops up and says, actually, I'm a Seahawks fan, and her hand goes really slowly up to the screen, and then it just says blocked. So she's just like, not even going to say anything. She's like, that person's blocked. Just let me sit here and be destroyed.
Wow.
Yes, Joe.
Well, right when we missed, I jumped up on my couch, slammed my hand into the wall, yelling, fuck, fuck, fuck. And then,
at 8 years old?
Yeah, 8 years old. Yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And then my roommate, who's the Seattle fan, comes in. I don't look at him. I don't talk to him. And then I took a 25% fart bomb from the bodega and set it off in his room.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's not mature.
Vengeful.
Yeah, it's not mature. Yeah, it was vengeful. Yeah, it was really bad.
Could have at least got a more expensive one.
Yeah, I should get the
nice one. Yeah.
Here's Carol in Dallas. Hey, Carol.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I was listening to Gary when he was talking about how he doesn't think he's as successful as other comedians and things like that. And I had never heard of him until like the last couple of years because I didn't have Sirius XM. But he is one of my absolute favorites that I hear. And I just think that he could totally increase his fan base if he traveled more than, went to comedy clubs outside of the Northeast, a little bit more around the country.
Like Dallas?
Then I introduced my sisters to him, and they thought he was really funny, too, and good looking. So,
thank you.
All right, hold on. This is something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you what I have, which is very odd. There are like 20 cities in America where 300 people will come to see me at a small like rock club or something like that, which I'm very grateful for. But it always confuses me as to how it was limited to that. You know, like when I did play Dallas last year, and there were about 220 people there, and I was just like, how do any of these people know me? And so it's very odd to me.
So you're thinking, all right, it's great that there's 220. What do I got to do to make it 2,200?
Right.
Because if you do that, you get a theater a year.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. I think part of the thing is that when I'm depressed, I'm down on myself and thinking about these things in a negative way. So a lot of other people would be grateful with the
Right.
career I have, and because it's I'm looking through these negatively tinted glasses. I'm not. My brain isn't working.
Well, Carol,
thank you, Carol. That was very nice.
Carol, you came up with, as you put it, taboo sex with your sisters.
Do what?
Taboo sex might break them of this. All right, so the sister sex, that's weird because it is incestuous. But what if that's the thing that cracks it? They say.
Like
Tom Jones
I
went
don't
through it.
recall saying anything.
It doesn't matter who brought it up, Carol. The fact is, it's on the table right now. But Tom Jones, they said, only wanted to be with mothers and daughters.
Really?
Yeah.
I never heard that.
Wow.
Well, you can't imagine how popular the man's been for a lot of times. And I think mothers and stepdaughters is probably a place where you'd be better off right now.
Yeah.
I don't think you're ready to go full Tom Jones.
It's healthier, but the Tom Jones, huh?
Yeah.
What an extreme fetish that is.
It is unusual. I mean, he was wrong with his song. It is unusual. So you're thinking, I think that your career is right there. Who are we talking to from the cellar? Who was in here?
Noam.
All right, Noam. No, I said to Noam, I go, I think Gary Goldman is the next big thing. And he says, I agree 100%. You always kill.
Oh, thanks.
And you're always prepared and you're always writing. Maybe Noam and I should be taking over your careers. Maybe I could take you from that 220 to a 235, a 237.
Yeah.
As long as we're moving the numbers up.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's a weird thing about being in comedy. If you're doing comedy and you don't have a sitcom, if you had a sitcom, those numbers go, 50 times overnight.
Oh, I know.
But for guys that just go out there, and Brian Regan had brought this up, and I know that you're at that Unmasked. He said that he'll be in front of 2,000 people going crazy, and then he'll go down the street into a Starbucks and just stand in line.
Yeah.
And no one else will come up and go,
Yeah.
oh my God, you're Brian Regan.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And he's 100 yards away from the place. The people are like, Brian, Brian.
But isn't there something kind of great about that? Because
it's
you're
perfect.
able,
Yeah.
you're able to have that moment and then be at peace with yourself
Right.
and
Yeah.
be your own individual without feeling that heat on you all the time. But then you get to experience that as well and feel
Can I tell you
love
what would even be better? You go into Starbucks, they're going fucking crazy, but then you go down and you find out that your show isn't selling. Like, what is happening? I was just at the Starbucks, and everyone was so excited to see me.
Wow.
And you're telling me we're not moving any tickets.
I bet you that's more common than what Brian had.
Oh, I'm sure that probably happens to a lot of people. I don't want to say Rick Springfield, but you know what I'm talking about when I say that. A guy who had hits at a certain time.
Yeah.
And then people see them and they're always happy to see that person, but it doesn't mean that they're going to go to the show.
Or probably like an old sitcom star. I bet that's pretty frequent as well.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
You had something once at one time, that was big. It was on TV and it was a pop culture moment. And then
Right.
I'm sure you will be bugged for the rest of your life over something like that, but not necessarily getting the experience of being able to perform and see people
Sure,
there to show
see
up
a lot
for
of
you.
people
Yeah.
show up. The Podsy thing. I'm sure everybody recognizes Podsy from Happy Days.
Yeah.
But I don't know the last time he's drawn anything.
Yeah.
Brendan wants to get in on this.
Hey, Gary, how's it going?
Oh, okay. Thank you, Brendan.
Is it?
No.
Okay.
No. But I wanted to cover up for Brendan.
Gary, you are absolutely hilarious, dude. I saw you in Atlanta, and I loved it. And every time your stand-up's on, I watch it. Every time you're on Sirius, I listen. You crack me up, and I'm really surprised that you aren't a bigger star, to be honest. I think a lot of your humor speaks to me because I grew up probably around the same time you did. I get a lot of your humor. I love it.
Oh, thanks.
Keep doing it.
I appreciate that. I will keep doing it. I still, that's the one thing when I get on stage for, between 15 minutes and an hour, I feel pretty good about myself. And then afterwards the world comes crashing back in. But, that's really nice of you to say, Brendan. I really appreciate
real,
it.
Though. Don't let the world come crashing back in because what you're feeling is real, buddy. You're freaking hilarious.
Now, are all his feelings real or just the good ones? That's the thing.
It's like, I feel like George Bailey.
All right, that's what we need to do. We need to do a Wonderful Life thing for you. See, I went through a period where I would hear audio hallucinations. I would hear voices.
Really?
And yet they were all helpful. A lot of them, would, you know what I mean? Would be like, hey, you're missing your right turn. I mean, what? Oh, thank you. And it was the strangest. No one ever wants to bring that up.
Oh, my gosh. And you wouldn't want to medicate that away.
No, but I did just for my own partying sake. That's the thing. I self-medicated when I was feeling great.
No need for that.
I felt great and tried to heal myself into feeling even better. It's a problem.
I know that.
Here is Paul in Colorado. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Ronnie. What a sad day, man. Hey, I don't know if you've ever seen this video, the Blue Jean video, where it's about 8 or 10 minute long, kind of like a short movie. He plays a character named Streaming Lord Byron.
Yeah, you're talking about Mr. David Bowie now.
Oh, my gosh, dude. Yes.
Yeah, we didn't know that. I thought you were at first talking about Gary Goldman. I was looking up.
Oh, yeah.
Like you do a 10-minute Blue Jean bit?
No.
Sounds amazing.
I'm sorry, Ronnie. I'm on repeat. I'm on that.
That's okay. We should have somebody screening calls. Yeah, I've seen that before. It's from the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
All right. Thank you, my friend. Thanks for sharing that David Bowie moment with us all. A lot of things. David Bowie means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Here is Ed in Baltimore.
Hey, Ronnie, how you doing? Hey, I just wanted to congratulate Gary on his Fig Newton bit. That's like the funniest thing. That is
wow.
That's like, I know that sounds like trivial to you, but it's something that every single person has lived, and that's really hilarious. You know what I mean?
Thank you very much. That's
Yeah.
It's an old piece. I did that.
I know.
About 10 years ago.
Like,
Thank you. I'm glad it still holds up.
no, but it's funny. Like you go, like who would have ever thought this big? I mean, just I've literally sat in my car laughing alone like a lunatic listening to.
Was your radio
stuff.
on? Because that's really a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, occasionally it's been on, but I also wanted to, if you don't mind, I wanted to say I also want to talk to Ronnie about the. I saw David Bowie when he had that yellow suit. And,
the yellow suit tour. Sure.
Yellow suit tour. Yeah. I don't even know what it's really called, but I loved how he was so freaking like he was so engaging and laughing. And he went his first 10 years never cracking a smile.
Right.
And then when he comes out in 1984 with that Let's Dance tour, it just showed what a musician and an actor he was.
Well, he really also just finished up a 10-year cocaine habit, and it's really funny. But if you really get strongly into cocaine, it's hard to find the fun little things in life. People don't realize that. But a lot of times when you're doing a lot of cocaine, nothing seems all that funny.
Right.
Yeah, well, I only did a little bit, so that's
fine then. You're fine. You could probably put on a light yellow suit and go out and enjoy life. So where are you from? Your accent is Baltimore?
I'm actually from Philly. I live outside of Baltimore now, but I'm from Philly.
See, the Philly into Baltimore accent is one of the greatest of all time.
It's definitely blue collar, white trash, definitely.
It is, but there's a confidence that comes with it that's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, you're from there too, so
yeah,
we're brethren. All right, man. That's all I wanted to say.
All right, take care of yourself, my friend.
That is true.
Yeah.
There are accents that come with confidence.
Yeah,
the Long Island people. I never met a self-effacing Long Island person.
No.
They're very, very great at asking for directions in that awful accent.
Long Island people are interesting because they believe, because their TV says that they're in New York, that they're New Yorkers.
Yeah.
But they're really shit kickers. They're hayseeds. They're fucking sons of clammers. You know what I mean? At any other place, they would be considered, rednecks. There's not a lot of difference between them and the Carolina people.
Yeah,
right?
beach rednecks.
But because they get the local TV from New York, they feel like they're cosmopolitan.
Yeah, they see one play every 5 years.
Yeah,
and they're cosmopolitan.
They insist on being drunk on a train, and I don't know if you can find anyone else who will say, "I can't believe the bar in the train is down." And they feel like they want to be hammered every time they're on a train. It's very, very unique, and yet, like you said, they're the most confident people that you'll run into.
Yeah, swagger. They all have
a swagger.
Yeah.
Now, your people in Minnesota tend to be great apologizers.
Yeah. Good apologizers, somewhat passive-aggressive at times.
Give me a passive-aggressive thing people do from Minnesota.
The Lazy Susan over there, do you guys like it open? Because I don't like it open.
So they would just do this thing where they would always tell you that something's wrong.
Yeah, hey, are the blinds... Do you think the blinds let too much light in?
Yeah.
Just close the blinds, Mom. Please. It's dark.
So there's an insecurity about the Minneapolis.
Yeah, it's just an over-politeness, I think.
Yeah.
Now, where I'm from, down around Philly, people will always do this. You just had this whole thing done? Why didn't you call me? I did this for half. No one's ever able to do... no one ever helps you, but they tell you, whatever you just had done to your home, they could have got it for half.
Right.
And they just make you feel bad about everything.
And then that becomes the focal point.
That becomes the focal
instead
point.
Of what is actually going on.
Did you mix this right? Because I'm looking at it. It looks smoky. I don't get it. All right. Well, you know what you're doing. No. You just come in to make people feel bad about themselves. There's Rocky is the perfect movie for Philadelphia because no one believes that he'll win or do anything. And they basically, everyone that he knows tells him, not to go for it, to stop, cut it out.
Yeah.
Don't do this. No, they yell at him because no one there thinks anything good is ever going to happen. Now, Stallone won the Golden Globe last night.
Oh, wow.
Everyone's furious with him because they said he forgot to thank his black co-star and black director. They didn't even say co-star and director.
Oh.
They took it into somehow he's racist, and, you know, he went out of his way not to thank these people.
I think I had heard that he actually ran out during a commercial break.
That's a mistake.
And said, "Oh, I forgot to say the director and the lead, really, in the movie. I should thank them." But he did have time to thank the fictional character of Rocky, which I thought was really funny. He's like, "I want to thank my imaginary friend Rocky," and I was like, "Oh, it sounds like he's going to end here." And I can think of a couple people he hasn't mentioned.
I want to thank Paulie and his sister.
Paulie's robot.
Let's not forget Spider Rico, who gave me a fight early on in my career.
Yeah, Spider Rico's doing pretty good. You didn't know? He's doing all right for himself. He would always have to defend Spider Rico to people. Spider Rico. He's still around? Oh, yeah. He's doing good. Jennifer in Connecticut. Hey, Jennifer. Jennifer, you there? You got a problem with that, Chris?
No, it's up.
See, the thing is, she wanted to give a really nice compliment, you know?
Call back, Jennifer.
I'd like him to hear some compliments. Hey, Pit Doc, how are you?
You're a really good friend, Ron.
You know what? I'd kill for you. Pit Doc.
Hey, Ronnie.
Hey.
Yeah, I was working all day yesterday with patients, and I logged on my computer for the first time at like 1 o'clock in the morning this morning, my birthday, and then find out this. And the first thing I thought of was you. So I sent you a little email. Everything I got. But it's he is so tied to you. Bowie was so tied to you that my fantasy for winning the Powerball lottery, it's been for years, was if I had enough money, I was somehow going to get Bowie into your studio.
Wow.
Well, there's so many other things I could have done with it.
I know that, but you're the man who has everything.
Yeah,
so I wanted to get you Bowie. When I was growing up, you know, it was the Beatles for a long while. They were the rock band that always evolved. And after the Beatles went away, Bowie in '73 was just rock could evolve and get stranger and better. And for of us guys who thought they were a little bit weird, he kind of made us feel a little bit more like we were home.
Sure.
And we're going to miss him.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be missed. And it's another one of those things of the arts. It's great because the artist doesn't always get to know who's actually getting it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what they have done. And I could certainly say, if I looked at myself when I was a kid, Bowie saved my life. Carlin saved my life. I could go through a list of people who made me feel that life is worth living because of the art that they did.
Wow. Yeah.
Right.
I find the point of stand-up comedy when it's done well, and I pointed out to you, you don't just walk out on a talk show to be a funny guy. Your stuff is crafted. It literally is art. You know what I mean?
Oh, thank you.
I'm a guy who's funny, and I can come in and improv and bust balls and then get out of there, and it doesn't have that stuff. You're an artist. You create these things, and it's important for the world.
Well, thanks.
But it's not going to fit into you because you're not going to allow it. Right now, you're going to do everything you can to block it. But I can tell you, the moment that I've first heard any different piece of art or a book that I read and has made life worth living. And also I'll go out of my way to share those things with people. I think it's what we do here, Gail. I think we always find that to be important. If you've read something or if you just saw somebody do something, it's important to share. First of all, it's also important to appreciate, anything.
It's important to share, and then you have to think about when you're doing what you do and you're creating, that's your way of sharing. If you think about the way Bowie decided to spend the last year of his life.
Unbelievable.
Knowing
he doesn't tell anyone that he's sick.
Oh, really?
And he does this album at age 69 that basically deals with death and darkness. And Gail said 2 hours before the word that he had died, what was the New York Times article?
Yeah, 2 hours before the news had broke, the New York Times article started with, "It's a great time to be David Bowie," because there's so much stuff going on. He just released an album on Friday, on his birthday. He has this play coming out. There was going to be a big honor that they were going to do here in New York. I can't remember where they're going to do it, but they would just announce that.
Yeah, it's
Carnegie.
Yeah, Carnegie Hall.
Yeah, so they were the article was about how incredible that they're going to be honoring him, and he's got this great new album. He's got a play coming out, and for somebody to say that 2 hours before the news breaks that you've passed away, and he knew that this was coming, and that he spent the last year working on an album because it was the way he felt in that moment. It was not anything nostalgic or, man, I had a great life and now I'm going to step back. He continued to connect to people that way, and it made him so full of life up into the very, very last moment, I think.
Now, here's also the thing about you. If someone told you when you were in high school or whatever, oh, you're going to be in New York City working comedian, and then you're going to go and do gigs, like you have this thing set up at Good Nights that you'll go down and perform at, I probably wouldn't have slept knowing that was going to be my life. I would have went crazy with excitement.
I hadn't thought about that.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the 15-year-old me would be very, very impressed with
yes. And even just think of the people that you know how the 15-year-old you would have felt. The people, the experiences that you've had, or the people that you get to hang out with. It's amazing.
Yeah. True.
Let alone doing... First of all, I used to just think that the idea of an inner city comedy club was about the most romantic thing that I could possibly think of. And if I would get like a comedy album and it was like, say, Purple Onion on it, and I would listen, I would not only think about the comedy, I'd be like, what kind of people are at this place?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Really
How
cool
hip
people.
are they?
Yeah.
I do think that the comedy special has ruined that, because they shot and you see regular people, but it used to seem like, oh, you would probably go see Miles Davis or Cheech and Chong. You know what I mean? It seemed to me like you had to be incredibly cool to find out some of these places. And the fact of the matter is, it did used to have to be that way. If you were at Catch a Rising Star in 1975, you were probably pretty fucking cool, just sitting in there. But, the same thing is done of like concerts. If someone was like, I was at Woodstock, everyone's like, what? And they come over and like, tell me all about it. And all you were a participant. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like saying I was at the World Series where Reggie hit the 3. What?
Really?
You've had an amazing life, sir, watching Reggie do that. A lot of times I think we put too much emphasis on all the wrong shit. Like here Bowie dies, right? Do you ever even think to yourself, oh, I bet he had an indoor pool, or I bet he had a third house? That isn't the stuff that you admire, You admire the guy that wrote Suffragette City. You admire the guy that was able to create in 6 different decades. That's the amazing thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the thing to fall in love with.
Yeah.
By the way, I want you to come see Gary Goldman when he is at Good Nights in Raleigh, North Carolina. One of the great comedy clubs of all time.
It's great.
Too.
Yeah.
Been there for a long, long time. February 12th. Through February 19th.
That's the 14th. That's a typo.
It is a typo.
Yes.
Okay, so he's not going to be there for 7 straight days.
No. February 12th to the 14th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there last year and sold out a few shows. So I was surprised that many people from North Carolina had heard of me. So
people from North Carolina like you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's really to me, you're a Mid-Atlantic comic. That's what I would put you right now. I go, he does very well in the Mid-Atlantic states. Here's Tim in Iowa. Tim.
Gary, what's up, buddy?
Oh, hi, Tim.
Hey, I just want to say, man,
I've been following you since Last Comic Standing.
Oh wow,
been a big fan.
10 years.
Your grape bit about the fruit salad. I was just quoting some of that last night at a little get together.
Wow.
And I tried the comedy route when I was a kid. I'm the funniest guy of my buddies. I'm always the first one to. I'm like kind of like Ron. I'm a ball buster, and giving people shit. But I would give my right arm to trade places with you because I had a dream of being a comedian when I was a kid. I used to play with my tape recorder in my room and tell jokes and try to make the sound of the crowd going crazy. And so I admire you for chasing your dreams. And I gave up. I'm driving a truck now. So.
Oh. Well,
so don't let the depression get you down, man.
Thanks. Yeah, you wouldn't have wanted to wish to be me last night. You ever shower sitting down?
Really? You didn't even have the strength?
I didn't have the strength. And the one thing I will say is that it's much more powerful when it's falling from a greater height.
Sure.
So it's actually a little soothing. And if you forget about the tears, you can really get into that shower.
Did you have like a little chair in there, or were you on the top?
I was actually on my balls were on the drain.
Okay.
Which I was like, this can't be sanitary.
I don't even beyond. I don't know if it's the kind of thing to get you ready to do this tour. I don't know. Like if you found out like the night before the Super Bowl, Joe Montana was just sitting on the floor of his tub, barely able to look up at it, and thinking to himself, well, I'm not going to use the soap. That's for sure. That takes too much.
I was doing a thing where I was soaping up from my waist up and letting it ooze on down to the nether.
See, that's brilliant. That's actually smart. You're able to work your way around this.
I was very efficient.
Yeah. You're not, you're letting yourself stand up and pee, though. You're not sitting for that, right?
No.
Because that's a total give up.
No.
That's when it's over for you.
Yeah, that is,
Hey.
that is,
not for good. By the way, when you were doing the Periscope and you didn't remember Superhero Girl, you had done that on the air once where you were like the superhero girl who needed to be rescued by the other superhero.
Oh, that's what it was.
And it was one of my favorite things that you've ever done.
No, I know
Do you
what that
remember that
was.
voice?
I
Like,
was help, please! I've lost my superpowers. I need a real hero. Is there a man? You don't even need superpowers. Just a man.
These are the cartoons that you watched growing up. You're like, do the women ever get anything done? Help.
Help.
I don't even know what accent you're going to with that. Yeah.
I don't know. Just general weak woman, I guess, is the...
But, you're sitting here, you're listening from Gary, and you can't stand up in the shower anymore. Just sitting. Just taking a sitting shower. Oh, God. Have you done anything that's that awful that it bothers you, or are you just bothered by the little things?
I see. I have these regrets over this relationship I had where I bought a house for this woman and then put a lot of money into renovating it. I took the money out of my IRA, and so I got nailed with taxes, and then she moved out like 6 months later, and left me alone up there in the Catskills, and I'm just every time I have I do pretty well, on the road. I'm fine. I have enough to last me if I didn't work for 6 months, but I'm like, if I hadn't made that horrible decision financially, I would be in such a great position. I'd probably own a house near here or an apartment or something like that, and I can't forgive myself for all these mistakes I made.
Right. So most of your stuff is financial based, though. And you haven't done anything horrible. You never hit anyone.
No, I never hit anybody.
Yeah.
One time I smacked a heckler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that guy had it coming to him.
Yeah, it was terrible. It's terrible, though. I still feel really bad for that. That's the other thing. I go over my life and I'm like thinking of regrets and guilt. I have a lot of guilt.
I'm
crazy.
The heckler thing can be confusing. The first time I ever got heckled, I just threw the glass at the person. And then,
no way.
Yeah, I've been doing it like 2 or 3 nights, and the guy yells out something. I just went, "What?" and fucking whipped the glass, right? Crashes and everything. And then I get in the back, and guys are like, we have lines that we say to people. And I'm like, what do you mean? And I go, he was being fucking aggressive. But my parents always taught me, like, if someone says something mean to you, it means they're going to punch you soon.
Right.
Hit them.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So that takes a while to break that.
Yeah.
But even now, I've never even heard of anyone just chucking a glass at the person who was yelling shit out.
Never heard of that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. But you know how bad I feel about that? Zero.
Really?
I'm just not going to do it. I'm just, I kind of believe in that I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't give a fuck. Do you have a belief in an afterlife?
Well, I believe in God, but I'm not like a fan. Like
do you have a fear of God?
Oh, I'm so afraid of him.
Really?
Yeah, I'm so afraid of him. Like as I said what I just said, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna pay for this.
See, this is important. I think change your beliefs.
Change my beliefs.
Yeah. You need to change your beliefs of what God is in the afterlife. That'll lift the depression out of you. I'll tell you this. God is the father of everything, right?
Yeah.
Parents tend to take it pretty easy on their children. They don't burn their children unless they're really abusive. I mean, that would be a bad father who would say, I'm going to put you in a fire for a while.
Yeah, but then I think, what if there's nothing?
What a break. You know what I mean? What a fucking break.
You mean like sleep?
Yeah.
Sounds nice.
Like really being knocked out, cold sleep too. Just being nothing. Well, you know, like that feeling that we had before we were born. Remember how relaxing that was? We didn't have any problems then.
Well, have you ever thought about the, this is an off color, but like, we're in a race to exist, right? With all these sperm, and they don't tell you what you're gonna win, and you're just going for this. And then there are sperm who lost, who they didn't come into I mean, the thing is, it's people play in the Powerball. You had a better chance of winning the Powerball than you did of existing.
Right. It's true.
It's crazy to me because sometimes I think those sperm, the ones that didn't fertilize the egg, I'm like, oh, they got off easy. They didn't have to pay taxes or anything like that.
Well, see, the thing that's always interests me is why think of yourself as the sperm? Why not just think of yourself as the egg? So if you were the egg, you're like, I'm just waiting for that spark to get here.
Oh my God, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
That's a much, because I was the egg.
Yes, of course. And the plan of you had been cooking in the women in your line for generations, and it was all supposed to happen, and that's only one aspect, the what if this, and you know, the chance of existing, but there's a part of you that was meant to exist from the beginning, and there was no chance with that.
Wow.
Well, see, here's the thing though. I always think, you know, because I was a Catholic, and they're like, well, if you were a baby and you were born dead, you go to heaven, right? You get a quick christening, and then you're on your way to heaven. And I was born I had a cord wrapped around my neck. And I'm like, why wouldn't they just let me go straight to heaven if they really believed, instead of fucking bringing me here, where I've obviously sinned quite a bit over the last few decades. I mean, I really stacked some heavy sins up, but I could have been eternal in heaven if they just would have let me go.
But then you wouldn't have heard Bowie.
There you go. Mm-hmm. See, so you're saying there is something to existence.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think the only thing that there really are moments. You know, when people go, oh, I want to be happy. No one's happy for a long period of time. You don't sit around, oh, I got a great house, I'm going to sit here and be happy for a long time. You're happy normally like the day you got it, or when your mom comes over, and then you go back to being yourself.
Yeah.
You get moments, and then you got to hold on to those moments. That's the important thing in life.
And the regrets you're feeling are just part of the moments, all those moments that you stacked up. And when you're judging that person who gave you regrets, you're judging somebody who's actually like different than yourself. That's a different human being with entirely.
So you're saying be nicer than that person in the past?
Yeah, of course, because if somebody had told you the story that you just told us, of course you would come at that person with a sort of gentleness, and you would be kind to that person.
Right.
And that person that you're talking about, the cells in that person's body are entirely different than yours. You regenerate something like every 7 years, and you're not going to be this same version of yourself.
He's not even the guy who fucked up. He's not that dude.
Or you're moving out of being that person, and within a couple years, there's almost nothing, in a chemical sort of way.
So you are dead.
I like that. Yeah. I like that. The idea of seeing how this turns out in a couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah. But so if you time traveled, right? Mm-hmm. And you saw what you were doing, you wouldn't say, there's me. You would say, this is me. I'm the guy watching this fucking moron throw a glass like an idiot.
Right.
What if I went back and heckled myself and got hit by the glass? That would be the best fucking movie.
You were in the darkness, obscured.
Yeah.
It was actually you.
But I hated my material. But why? Why are you doing this hack thing? You're funnier than this. And then he throws a fucking glass at me.
How are you so smart? Did you take psychology in college?
Yeah, where do you do
like
that from, Gail?
No, I did not take psychology.
You're really sharp.
She's a hip chick.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks.
you have a good philosophy.
Is that your philosophy all the time?
Yeah, I try to apply that to life, and I think about that, and it helps me cope with the idea of death as well, because they're in a way that kind of change that you go through is a certain end and beginning into a new thing. And you don't mourn yourself at 7 years old. You don't think, oh my God, that child is dead. It's just that person existed, and now you're this person.
It is true though that person's gone.
Yeah, the person is gone. And you know what? It's strange. You only get a glimpse of that when your parents look at you, right? Like your parents are kind of, in a weird way, they mourn that idea of, God, I had this child and I had a different relationship with that person, and now they don't need me the same way, and they don't like the same things, and they have different opinions than that person. And to a parent, that person is gone, and that's sad for them. But for you, you've already moved on into a whole new...
But I do feel like you've killed my baby. I felt like such an adorable little girl, and you murdered her. You're a killer.
It's true.
Well...
I didn't mean to, but...
No, you didn't mean to, but you just wanted to grow older, didn't you? What is it, Joe? I see you over there talking. What's happening?
Just confirming with Chris on how you guys would like to end the show today.
Why? Because we're 10 minutes late to end the show?
No, it's just confused on what song we were going to play.
You know what? We're here for Gary today. Why don't you tell everybody where Gary's going?
Gary Goldman's in studio. He's performing at Goodnight's Comedy Club in Raleigh, North Carolina, Friday, February 12th through February 14th. Go to GaryGoldman.com for all additional dates, and on Twitter it's at Gary Goldman.
I'm going to go ahead and sign up for all that, too.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, you really do great plugs.
Oh, thank you.
You do a really nice plug.
I'd like to get all the information out there. Gary.
You know what? Let me just say something else. This isn't coming up. That shirt, you could be in a brawny commercial. Because you look brawny today.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I got to grow the beard back out.
Yeah.
It's a masculine look. It's good.
Yeah. Makes you feel good, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what. First of all, Gary, thank you. I love it when you come by.
Oh, I love coming by.
I'd have you by here every day if you want to. If you feel down, Gail's here, her regular hours.
Yeah.
But I will tell you an experience that a young kid that I had, that when I heard this song, because I had heard a Bowie song before this, because they would play, they had played Space Oddity on, but I thought it was like, a very, it almost seemed like a novelty song to me. But when the first time I heard the song on the radio, and I was in this kid's Elmer's car, I remember leaning over and turning it up and listening, and I'm saying to him, who the fuck is this? And him go, how do you not know David Bowie? How does this not occur to you? And me thinking, I'm going to know everything about David Bowie. I'm going to know everything this son of a bitch has done, because this is otherworldly. And it's the song Changes, which is, I think, is always like an amazing thing, because he sings about that all the time. It's actually everything that you and Gail were talking about today, about being open for the changes. So to that artist, from that young man and this mature man who has been on a lifetime of paying attention to his art, I can only say thank you. I can only give gratitude. I can only feel like that art that man put out has been a friend to me through all these years. And not only that, then my daughter who was able to turn on to it, my son, my chick. And there's truth to this. There is truth sometimes to pop music. So I will end this with a thank you to our friend Gary Goldman and the art that he provides, and to our friend that we've never really met, David Bowie. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, Ron.